Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Rainmakers Roundup. I am your host, Mark Iorio. I'm with Kathy Clayton. Kathy is the principal at HBA CPAs and Consultants. We should extend that, the name of the company a little bit.
Actually, I'm going to correct you because it's HBK.
What did I say? HBK?
No, HBA.
HBK. I'm sorry. Did I say HBA?
Yes.
Was it recorded? We're going to have to go back to the videotape. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
Morning.
Good morning. Great to have you in the studio.
Thank you.
It's a lot better when you come in rather than doing Zooms. And
I'm so sick of Zoom.
are you zoomed out?
I'm Zoomed. I'm Teamed. I'm life-sized.
What's life size? I don't even know what that is.
That's a technology that HBK uses, much like Zoom, for meetings, but it allows us to connect all of our 16 offices.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
16 off. I mean, that is you know what? When I interviewed other folks from HBK, I did not realize, Kathy, how big the organization is.
It doesn't. In some cases, it doesn't feel that big.
Yeah.
Because it really is a network of regional firms put together
Sure.
under the HBK umbrella. So you really get that mid-sized, small firm feel.
Yeah.
But the amount of resources we have across, 550 professionals is just tremendous.
It is. It's amazing. It's amazing. So tell me about your practice area and what you focus and concentrate on, because I think it's really cool that, I mean, a lot of people don't think about CPA firms and consulting firms as working in just, not solely, but focused on the nonprofit world. I love this conversation.
Yeah, so I've been fortunate, I've only really worked for two firms in my almost 40-year career, and both of them have allowed me to focus my attention on tax-exempt organizations. Mm-hmm. We call it, nonprofits. And HBK is really, really good about providing opportunity for their professionals to focus on what they're passionate about, mm-hmm. whether it be construction, whether it be healthcare, whether it be nonprofit in my case.
Yep.
So I work exclusively in the nonprofit arena, other than my mother's tax return, which I'm trying to sell to somebody.
Does she give you a hassle?
Yeah, all the time.
All the time, right?
All the time. But I'm 99% nonprofit. I am the national director for our nonprofit practice.
I thought that was really cool. When we talked the other day, I thought that was really, really interesting. What does that actually mean in terms of the national director?
Yeah, well, CPA firms historically were always aligned around services. So you had the audit practice, you had the tax practice, you had the consulting practice. And if you were an auditor, you did audits of everything.
Yeah.
And the movement now, and HBK is certainly, moving this way, is to focus more on industries. So we set up, we call them solutions groups, nonprofits. Mine happens to be the nonprofit solutions group. And we align people that are passionate about that industry, in my case, nonprofit, mm-hmm. To work exclusively in that arena.
Okay.
So we have auditors doing audits of nonprofits.
Okay.
We have tax people doing tax returns for exempt organizations. We have consultants that consult in nonprofit and governance and those kind of things. So it really is more about bringing a team of professionals to a client in a certain industry, and really, not just sending an auditor who audits everything.
Tell me something. What in your experience, in your almost 40-year experience in the business, we know when we graduated from college. We both talked about that. So you're a few years behind me. But in that period of time, Kathy, what have you seen in terms of the differences between the work that not the work that nonprofits do, but how they do business versus how a for-profit business does business?
Well, it's funny, in the for-profit arena, the focus is really on, certainly making a profit, It may be on the top line on sales or the bottom line on profit, mitigating the tax effect of
Sure.
that profit,
Yeah.
benefiting the shareholders and the owners. And nonprofits really operate very differently because their focus is on whatever their mission is. And there's 1,000 different, nonprofit missions. But their focus is really on the mission and sustaining the mission, and as well, maintaining their exempt status.
Right.
So it's really more about, serving either their members, if they're a membership organization, or the general public, which is
Yeah.
all of us.
Yeah.
And less about kind of making a profit.
Yeah.
Over the years, that focus has changed a little bit because, they really are businesses.
Yeah.
They're almost 6% of gross domestic product. So, it's a big niche in the United
Yeah.
States.
I think that surprises a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people understand that nonprofits represent that large a piece of GDP, right? Right. You have not always been in the nonprofit world. How did you get into it, and what was that journey like?
I started in a great regional firm that did just a ton of work with publicly traded companies. And although that's hot and sexy, and back then it was hot and sexy, and I just wasn't into it.
Yeah.
So I was moved into a generalist pool, and the first nonprofit client for that firm, knock, knock, knock on our door.
Yeah.
And the partners kind of looked around the room and said, "Who's going to take this one?" Because we don't do nonprofit work.
Right.
And back in the day, it was very male dominated. And they said, "Oh, this has to be a woman." And there I was, and that was back in the middle '80s.
Yeah.
And I took on that client, and back then, it was a nonprofit that existed on the Rutgers campus, and it was cool, and it was a tremendous learning experience because
Yeah.
we had never done that kind of work, and
Yeah.
and they got government funds, so there's a whole nother component to that.
You know what's cool? Honestly, I mean, when we spoke on the phone the other day, I didn't see the way your eyes literally light up. I'm not joking. Light up when you talk about nonprofit work and the work that you're doing, not just on a regional basis for HBK, but nationally, right? You must love the work.
I do, and I really, right now we have about 65 professionals, that are in the nonprofit group, across our offices.
Yeah.
And it's really about kind of marshaling the team together, continually updating them on what's going on in the industry, in technology, besides just in accounting.
Yeah.
And I have, other directors in my regions, because, I can't be everywhere.
Yep.
But it really is about bringing the team together collectively to service a unique subset of our clients.
The morphing of CPA firms over the last 30 years plus, 35 years plus has been pretty remarkable. And with HBK, you look at the title, it's not HBK CPAs, it's HBK CPAs and consultants. So the consulting side is important, and especially on the nonprofit side, Kathy, because a lot of times the executive directors, maybe they start at the nonprofit, maybe they don't have the business acumen that business owners could have, and so they lean heavily on you to do that. And what kinds of things, what kind of work do you do besides the traditional, accounting work?
Well, there's so many different consulting opportunities for exempt organizations, and some of it is really about education, and whether that be of their staff, because they tend to not be able to afford, the big ticket CFO.
Yeah.
So you may be dealing with a generalist who's sitting in that chair, or a volunteer.
Yeah.
So it really is, there's a unique opportunity to do some training and education, maybe for the CEO, who could have been the development director last year.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden is sitting in the big
Right,
chair.
exactly.
But we also get a lot of opportunity to consult with boards.
Yeah.
And whether that be about, how to read your financial statements. But it could also be about good practices and,
Yeah.
best practices in nonprofits. And, a lot of them, a lot of people that run nonprofits and work in nonprofits, they're very passionate about their organization.
Yeah. Are the board members? I sat on so many nonprofit boards in the last 40 years of my career that, people pass out the financials, right? Right, the P&L balance sheet, not, thank God, not the trial balance or anything like that, but 99% of the time, Kathy, 99% of the time, people look at it, they never have a question, approved.
Yeah.
Motion approved. What kinds of things should board members be asking and looking for?
Well, one of the things, initially when we're hired, and we want to go to board meetings, and preferably before we're presenting the audit.
Yeah, right.
Before we're presenting the audit. But we always make a plan that our first presentation to the board is going to be educational. So we're going to walk through
I like
a
that.
financial statement, and they may be like leafing through going, where's the balance sheet? Well, it's not even called the balance sheet in nonprofit land.
Yeah.
So we try and educate them on, first of all, what the basic financial statements say, as well as key items, particularly material items, that are big in nature, but also, what makes sense in a nonprofit, what's good, what's bad. A lot of them are still of the old mindset that, we can't make a profit.
But they do.
But they do. They absolutely do.
Yeah.
And that's bad.
Yeah.
So you need to do a lot of education, particularly around. There are certain statistics that are meaningless in the for-profit environment.
Yeah.
And certainly one of them is how nonprofits spend their money. And there is an allocation that's really important out in the real world, both to donors and grantors and the rating services. And that's, for every dollar, how do you spend it? How much is on program? How much is on general and administration?
Right.
How much is on fundraising?
Yeah.
And getting the boards to focus on that and to understand how important those percentages are.
I love that. I really do, because that is such a needed task or process, Kathy, because oftentimes you have board members that really are not familiar with, the financials. So I love that. I really do.
Yeah, we get involved a lot in startups as well, and unfortunately dissolutions.
Yeah.
And we can help, people that are minded, in the we want to do good.
Yeah.
Family. And we do a lot of startups, and we're happy to consult on, getting them organized the right way, getting their accounting system started up.
Love it. We're going to have to take a quick break. We will be right back after this commercial message with more from Kathy Clayton, principal at HBK CPAs and Consultants, right after this message from our sponsors. Don't go away, folks.
Aloha! Joe Silva here with Kukua Technologies. I'm excited to see you on Tuesdays on Morning Coffee for our tech tips.
Let's face it, lawyers get a bad rap. I'm Erin Brucey, host of Legal Breakdown, where we dissect legal topics for the everyday viewer, with a mix of interesting guests to talk about current events and hot legal topics. Let's work together to make the law accessible and relevant to everyone. Catch us every week on RVN Television.
A stroke can be easy to detect. A loved one can't speak, Perhaps they can't move. But there's another sign of a stroke that many of us can't see. It's called spatial neglect, and it can occur during or after a stroke, causing distorted visual movements. Fortunately, there's a solution by using optical prism technology during rehabilitation. If you or a loved one have experienced a stroke, ask your doctor about spatial neglect. Spatial neglect. See the whole picture at KesslerFoundation.org.
Are you part of the Great Resignation? Are you a business owner that would like to diversify your business holdings? Have you always had an entrepreneurial itch but did not have a concept to get you started? Milestone Franchising represents over 500 franchise concepts across 30 industries. Concepts range from $20,000 to $6 million, and they can be home-based, office-based, mobile, or brick and mortar. We guide you through the process to select which concept is best for you based upon your core competencies, your interests, and your financials. Milestone Franchising is part of the International Franchise Professionals Group, IFPG, and will bring a host of resources to assist you in your quest for
Welcome back to Rainmakers Roundup. I am your host, Mark Iorio. I'm with Kathy Clayton. Kathy is the principal at HBK, CPAs and consultants, and headquartered, there's a bunch. There's a bunch. It's not a loaded question, Kathy, but there is a bunch of headquarters, right?
No, actually, there's only one.
There's only one? Okay.
There's only one headquarter in Youngstown, Ohio.
Oh.
That's where our original office and our corporate headquarters is.
Yeah.
In Youngstown, Ohio. But there are, regionals. We're kind of aligned around 4 regions. Certainly Ohio.
Yep.
Western PA, Mid-Atlantic, which is New Jersey and Pennsylvania. And then we have quite a number of offices on both coasts in Florida. So those are our geographic regions, and we have leaders. So there are regional leaders, and then there are office leaders.
Okay.
For all of the offices.
Yeah, we had Michelle was on the show a while back,
yeah.
And she runs the Princeton office, or
Yeah, and Michelle runs the Princeton office, and soon to be Princeton. Our Princeton offices and our Clark offices are combining together.
They're merging, yeah.
Are merging together for team synergy more than anything.
Talk about that for a sec. The HBK atmosphere, the culture inside the organization. You said you've only worked for 2 firms basically in your career. What's the culture like?
It really is. It's a big firm.
Yeah.
It's a big firm, top 50 in the country.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah.
The way HBK grows, as a firm, is they go out and they seek talent in smaller regional offices, firms that have the same culture that they are seeking to spread. It takes a number of years to identify a candidate for merger and then bring in a local firm.
Yeah.
So in most cases, the firms that they're bringing under the HBK umbrella are really smaller regional firms that have that true family, dynamic
atmosphere. Yeah.
That celebrates everybody's birthday and everybody's kid and everybody's little league championship and
That's nice.
And it's fun and that culture is very, very important to the firm as a whole, but the staff in each location.
The neat thing about it too, from what I understand, is that because it's regionally based, right? You're able to be in the community, so you have local businesses that you're dealing with, but you also have some pretty powerful national accounts as well. Right?
Absolutely, and I think one of the things that I love about the bigger firm environment, and certainly because I am a national director, we get to be involved in all of the largest nonprofit clients that the firm serves. You know, we're brought in, and it can be virtually, or, you know, I can be down in Florida at a client. It's not a big deal. But I think one of the other things that's super important is, you know, our lives change as we grow up, and, you know, some people want to move to Florida, and we're more than happy, you know, to accommodate a team member moving to Florida rather than lose a great team member.
Yeah. How do you find new clients? Where does that, is it a lot, is it reputation? Obviously it is, word of mouth, but are there people out there just looking for business development folks?
There are business development folks, but it's, you know, certainly reputation is key. And being known specific to your industry is key. You know, so, you know, people looking for an accountant are not just looking for an accountant. They're looking for an accountant who knows something about, you know, whatever their industry is, whatever their, you know, their type of legal entity, or, you know, whatever their, you know, their issue is. So, you know, that kind of being known in the community is one thing. Oh, that's a great CPA firm, you know, in the Mid-Atlantic. But being known for a type of service or a type of client as well is important. But it really, you know, how do we bring in a client? It's every single solitary team member at HBK, from, you know, the receptionist, you know, the admin people, you know, all of our professional staff, up to the practice development partners.
They're
are
involved.
part of the team.
Yeah.
You know, and any one of us, any one of the team members can bring in a client, be rewarded for it. You know, and if they're not salesmen, there's a lot of accountants are not salesmen.
Yeah.
You know, just identify an opportunity. That's all we ask of our team, is identify an opportunity.
Well, that's how Rainmakers actually started. I mean, I read a book a while back about how to make rain if you're a professional, and usually CPAs or attorneys, doctors, you know, people in the medical field, they're not used to doing that. But you don't have to be an outward salesperson to sell. If you just present information, a lot of times people, like this forum that we're on right now, a lot of times, you know, people just look at you and say, oh my God, Kathy works with startups and she works with national nonprofits. So a little startup with 2 or 3 people, you can help.
Absolutely, we can help them. And really, you know, size doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, we can help the smallest nonprofit, we can help the biggest nonprofit.
I have to tell you, that's pretty remarkable because, you know, I run a nonprofit, right? And, you know, a lot of times, thank God we're under the umbrella of the United Way of Greater Mercer County. I mean, otherwise, I don't know that we would have, you know, the backup that we need, right? We're not our own 501c3, but you know, that's important to know. So if you're out there and you're watching this program, thinking about Kathy and HBK, oh my gosh, you know, you should really look her up. When you think about you and you know, who's inspired you in your career and your life and everything, who or what comes to mind?
Well, it's interesting. You know, I have to go to that saying that people are using lately, it takes a village.
Yeah.
Because I really think there's a village of people that inspired me. You know, certainly my parents, you know, really taught me about, you know, values and working hard and, you know, always doing the right thing and, you know, kind of like what's important in life as a person. But there's some other people too that were valuable to me. You know, Sister John, who introduced me to debits and credits in high school.
Wow.
You know, and really, you know, I went into college saying, I'm going to be an accountant. And it was because of, you know,
No kidding.
a nun in high school.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, and I met her because I was trying to avoid calculus, so I took accounting. You know, so she was an inspiration, but you know, I also got inspiration in college from, you know, my accounting professor, who was really a tough professor, particularly at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I did I worked in the athletic department with, a coach, and he was inspiring.
That's great. There's so many, you're right, there's so many people, if you think about it, that's why we do these prep
Yeah.
calls, because if I had asked you that question without that prep and that thinking, sometimes it's hard to. It's
probably
hard
would
to
have
imagine.
fumbled.
Yeah, you might have. It's been a pleasure. It really has.
has
I
been.
really
Thank
love
you.
having you here.
We can't do this for an hour?
We could, but not right now. You have to come back.
Okay.
I love
I'd be
having
happy
you, Kathy.
to.
Thank you. Maybe you can look into that camera and tell everyone how to get in touch with you and the folks at HBK.
Sure. HBK CPAs and consultants. I am based in our Clark office, which is at 100 Walnut Avenue. You could reach us at www.hbkcpa.com. Certainly, go to our website. Our phone numbers are there. Feel free to reach out to either myself or any one of us on the team, and we'd be happy to talk to you about what your needs are.
And you're on LinkedIn?
I am on LinkedIn.
Pretty active on LinkedIn?
I am fairly active on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
all right, folks. So, Kathy, Clayton, check out HBK. They are a powerful firm, but they're very local. So, they'll help you in any way you need help on the CPA or the consulting side. And look Kathy Clayton up, please. All right, folks, that is a wrap for Rainmakers Roundup. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. My pleasure.